Welcome back to the Nook Nation podcast. I'm Bret Inman, joined by Chinooks pitching coach Brian Gregory. You spent time at the high school level, junior college level, and now Northwoods League baseball. What have you noticed so far this summer that stuck out to you about the Chinooks and about the Northwoods League?
Obviously it's good baseball, really, really good baseball. Some talented kids, talented arms, guys that can do, quite a bit. It's really kind of stuck out early here in the first 10 games, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the different levels you've seen. There's a lot of different levels in the Northwoods League, guys coming from all over the place. There might be people that think this guy goes to a junior college, so he can't compete as well. Why are they wrong?
I just think that guys, when they get to play baseball at a high level and they're doing it and they're competing against other people who are hungry and want to get after it, it breeds a different type of baseball player. So you get to see some guys and see their skill set, and it really kind of opens up eyes that these guys can play a little bit, and maybe they were just late bloomers, or maybe they just didn't have the opportunities that other guys had, and it shows.
In your first few weeks here, how have you seen that in the Chinooks organization with guys gelling together from all sorts of different places?
It's kind of funny because it's like for the first like 3 days, everyone's kind of feeling each other out. It's like,
right.
Okay, I don't really know who you are. But it's kind of cool. The last couple of days, really, it's been cool. And even today in our workout, just seeing guys and how they interact with each other, like they're starting to become friends. They're starting to read each other's bodies a little bit more, and like how we do things and how we operate. So it's happening a lot more quickly than I thought, which is really, really cool. And guys been gelling, and I think they respect the game. And you get guys from the East Coast and the West Coast and different types of baseball, and they've gelled together pretty cool, and it's fun to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll start with your path into coaching. Was that something you always envisioned yourself doing after your playing career?
Yes. Yeah. Like short, yes. I was an okay player. Obviously I played for a while and got to do that. It's kind of funny. I would always go to our end of the season banquets when I was in junior college and stuff, and I'd always have my coach, they'd say something about each player, and they'd say, okay, this player's going to be a good player in the future. And it always got to me, and they would always say, you're going to be a good coach one day.
Awesome.
And as a 19 or 20-year-old, you're like, I don't want to be a good coach one day. Like, I want to be a good player.
Right.
So it was kind of like that backhanded compliment that you didn't understand as a kid. But as I got older, I realized what it meant a little bit more. And so I kind of knew it was like a calling, and I was going to be, okay at it.
And why do you think that was? Was it kind of your baseball savvy, the knowledge of the game? What was it?
Really, I just wasn't a good player. You know what I mean? Like, I had to really work hard. Obviously, being a catcher, you have to be a little bit more cerebral, and you have to think your way through the game a little bit more. And so that kind of just goes hand in hand, and I really had to work to get better at the game. And so I had to understand different, philosophies and tendencies and just stuff that maybe a more talented player kind of passed over.
Sure.
So it kind of just made my eyes open at a really young age of how the game works. And then I think there's just a general curiosity too, that you want to know how to get better and why things happen the way they do. And it just kind of started from there.
That curiosity you mentioned, how do you continue to tap into that today? How do you continue to learn things?
Everywhere, man. I think, working with Coach Moreno is definitely a good starter. I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of really good baseball people, and everybody brings like just a different element to the game and their coaching styles and different philosophies. And I think you just kind of take a little bit of everything that you learn, and you say, okay, I want to take this with me in my future. And, I don't want to be like this. You tend to work with some coaches who you're like, I don't want to take any of this with me in the future. And so
Right.
You learn that way too. But it's been cool. And I think putting yourself out there and making yourself a little bit uncomfortable, definitely it helps the growth process. So there's that as well.
For sure. And you mentioned being a catcher. How is that, your playing career as a catcher, how has that influenced you as a person today?
I think kind of goes twofold, hand in hand. One, I'm the oldest of 6 kids, right? So kind of just being the oldest, you're naturally kind of the big brother that takes care of everybody.
Right.
And that's really kind of synonymous with catching, is that, you kind of run the show and make sure everybody's gelling together and making sure you're being a leader and a captain. So it just kind of helped me from an early age, just those things, and that, if something goes good, it's your fault. If something goes bad, it's your fault. And so you just kind of wear the responsibility, and you look forward to the good and the bad, and you don't shy away from anything.
I was the youngest of 3 brothers, so
Okay. You got away with everything.
Some a little bit, and some would say that might make you a little bit tough or whatever. Caught for a little bit, and my oldest brother caught as well. So that's very interesting that you mentioned that it starts from there. And now you are the pitching coach. So how does being a catcher in a playing career translate to being a pitching coach now?
I'll tell you, this last year working at Chandler Gilbert, it kind of goes back to being uncomfortable, right? Like I was in a role I hadn't really been too familiar with, but I think I see the pitching staff from a different lens that not a lot of people get a chance to, because I understand it's not all about the pitchers, and sometimes your traditional pitching coaches get where, they have to have their routines and they're this and that. And I think just having the catching background, it's like, no, you're a pitcher, but you're in the team setting and the team organization where we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to put an emphasis on holding runners. We're going to put an emphasis on, the running game and defensive stuff that we're trying to do, and not just pitch. So it just kind of gives, I think, my pitchers that work underneath me just a different aspect on things. And I think it's for the best, right? Like we talk about all the time, am I going to be really, really good at teaching a guy how to, spin his curveball at a higher rate? No, like that's just not my forte, but I'll teach you to handle everything and every aspect of the game in a better manner, and to just be competitive and figure out how to win and figure out how to win pitches and at-bats and everything else.
Yeah, and I think catchers are so good at tapping into the mental side of things, where if a pitcher's struggling on the mound, you're going to go talk to him. Yeah. How has that helped you, helping your pitchers in a mental side of the game, which is so big in the on the pitcher's mound?
Yeah, I just think like we really talk about what you can control, right? So as soon as the ball leaves your hand, like you have no more control of what happens on the offensive side and the pitching side, but specifically with the pitching side, as soon as the ball leaves your hand, you have a place to go where the ball sits reactionary at that point, and it's preparing guys and not getting emotional. I love the phrase, don't let your highs get too high, your lows get too low, and that's true in every aspect of baseball. With pitching, it's like, if you give up a home run but you execute your pitch, good job, and so just kind of taking those little victories and understanding what is success and what's not. I think you kind of have to reframe it for a lot of pitchers, especially when they get to a level where maybe they've had success their whole life, and now you're playing against guys that are just as equally as good. So how do you handle that failure, and just trying to reprogram their brains to figure out what success is and how to attain it?
Absolutely. We'll shift gears a little bit and talk about your time as a high school coach and building the culture. When people hear that word culture, it's tossed around a lot in sports. What do you think is the key to building a strong culture?
It's kind of just doing stuff, right? Like I think you hear culture a lot, and sometimes it's like, it's what you put on your fall ball jerseys and you put up in your locker room and stuff. And to me, it's more just about what do you do? Like how do you show up? How do you wear your uniform? Or how do you stretch? Do you stretch properly? That to me is more culture than anything else. It's about the stuff that is really not written down, but it's just like, how do you carry yourself? How do you treat other people? I think that's culture that people don't tap into enough, because there's a way to do things. Like everybody has their own styles of doing things, but there's, in my opinion, one way of how you do things. And if you can have a good culture in that sense, it just breeds accountability and responsibility, and I think that leads to success, and that's where you have good culture.
Are you a believer in kind of having so-called captains that filter through, or making sure that everybody can hold each other accountable, maybe a little bit of both?
Yeah, man, I've gone back and forth on this one over the last several years. At first, I think just because traditional sense, you like to say, okay, these guys are my captains. I've kind of gone away with that a little bit more, because you just like to see who steps up, and you like to see, where I coach right now at the junior college level, it's a little tougher just because you're working with two classes, but maybe at the high school level or at the 4-year level, where you have a more spectrum of, older upperclassmen, the captain thing maybe works a little bit better.
Sure.
In the sense that it's like, hey, this guy's been in the program for a few years and he knows how to handle it. He knows the expectations. He just knows what's expected, and he knows the standard of things. And I think that's kind of what I'm leaning towards, is just see who rises to the top, like who holds each other accountable, because you can't just say, hey, that guy's going to be in charge of guys. It's not really how it works. It's like, let them figure it out themselves organically. And if they hold each other accountable, and as a coach, that's like your dream. When you get the players to coach each other, that's where you've reached kind of the top.
How has that transitioned into summer ball? Because like we mentioned, these guys meet each other and then play with each other, and you've still got to have holding each other accountable and doing things the right way. So how does that work in the summer ball setting?
I'm still trying to learn it, for sure. Still trying to learn a little bit. You definitely see, you kind of have that pecking order of class, where your juniors and seniors, they're just more, they've just seen more, right? They've experienced the game at a higher level for longer. So they kind of set the tone as far as that goes. And then, of course, you have your positional guys. Like I will always look at the catcher to be somebody who's, I don't want to say demands respect, but earns respect.
For sure.
and kind of sets the tone of how we do things. But it's tough. In summer ball, it's definitely tough because you also got guys coming and going.
Right.
But this group's done a phenomenal job too. I mean, you can see a few guys who've already stepped up to to the plate of, hey, this is how we're going to do things. And I think having returners from last year's group definitely helps out that a lot.
Yeah. Transitioning into developing guys, we've touched on it a little bit, but what is something you'd say that young pitchers tend to focus on too much?
The easy one, just velo.
Yeah.
And just ripping it and just trying to throw. I used to hear a phrase this past year, Chandler Gilbert was just, rip a nasty slider. And it's like, I don't care if it's nasty, if it's not a strike, or it's not competitive.
Sure.
And you just see a lot of young guys do that. And I think that this generation, they grew up in like indoor pitching facilities.
Right.
So it's like, that's all they care about is like looking up the number and seeing the spin rate and, the break and stuff like that. And they just don't understand the quality of getting ahead, being competitive, and pitching ahead in counts is just, it's the most valuable thing as far as pitching goes.
So stadium guns are a big thing now, where you can see the velo as soon as you throw the pitch. When you've got a guy that's snapping his neck to look at how hard his last pitch was, what's your message to him?
My first thought is they should put the velo where the pitcher can see it in front, so he's not having to do that. But there's time and a place for it, and I get it. Kids are going to be curious, and you're not going to change that, right? Like that is who they are,
right?
And you're not going to break that from it. I just like to see a little bit more, and maybe this is something I could use just, talking with you is if it's not a strike or it's not a competitive pitch, like I don't care. Like don't look at the gun.
Right.
If you threw it and you missed by 4 feet, like there's no point in looking, right? So if it's competitive, I think I got a little more leniency and a little bit more, acceptance because I know they are curious and
for sure
they're trying to impress everybody and themselves.
For sure.
Yeah.
You helped Chandler Gilbert lead the conference in strikeouts while also leading in strikeout to walk ratio. Mm-hmm. How do you teach pitchers to attack the zone while still being effective?
So we did something this last fall where it was, they couldn't pitch, they couldn't throw anything but a fastball.
Sure.
So I forget exactly, it was like 6 weeks into the fall. All they could do is throw fastballs, and even in our first few inter squads, it's just really emphasizing that. And then, I chart everything during the fall. So like we look at strike percentage, first pitch strike percentage, strikeout to walk ratio, stuff of that nature. I don't keep ERA. I think it's more of a team stat, so I don't really focus on that. But the number one thing when I meet with the guy after their outing during the fall, or even out here when we're talking to guys, is like, what's your first pitch strike percentage? I think there's 2 pitching schools. Guys are more worried about first pitch strike percentage or, winning 2 of the first 3. It's kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
I'm really, really big on just get ahead early. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you locate a good pitch and you give up a double in the gap, like good job. Like I'm okay with that. As long as we're getting ahead early, and then if you're a true pitcher, you can pitch to what you want and read hitters and read swings and, just get guys out, create weak contact. So that's kind of the message is just attack, stay on the attack.
Right. I've seen both. I've seen the race to 2, they call it, 2 of the first 3 versus first pitch strike. And I'd like to know the numbers of how many times you win the race to 2 if you get the first pitch as a strike.
Yeah. I
that number's probably way high.
Yeah.
So I love the first pitch strike thing. And what separates a good pitcher from a great pitcher?
The mental aspect, like 100%. And you can't even argue with that. It's just how they handle, again, I use quotations, failure. Cause like, what is failure? If you give up a hit, but you did what you were supposed to do, like that's not failure.
Correct.
That's what separates those guys. And, you give up a hit or you have that failure. How do you come back with that next pitch? Are you competitive? Can you not let stuff bother you? Too many times you see in baseball, it's all about momentum, and hitting is contagious. So it's like, if you can give up something and then get right back on the attack and be able to shut guys down, that's huge. That's the biggest separator. You see guys that an offense puts up a big inning and the next half, they have their offense so locked in. Can that pitcher just put up a 0? That's actually a stat in big leagues that I think is really underrated is, how many zeros do you put up after your team puts up a crooked number? And
right.
That to me is like what makes a pitcher really good when they're able to do those things.
Absolutely. Back to the catcher and pitcher, kind of the relationship between those two. I talked to Nathan Hannell and he talked about the art of calling pitches.
Yeah.
In the summer ball scene, what's that like for you guys to kind of get together before a game and realize how you're going to attack the hitters?
I'm probably going to piss off some people by saying this, but I don't think pitch calling is necessarily so important. Like it is.
For sure.
If I could put a percentage on it, right, you look at like 15, 20% of your success as a pitcher is going to be your pitch calling and pitch sequencing. If you see a guy just laying on the fastball, like, why would you throw anything else?
Right.
So there are certain stuff that would go like that, but you can read swings, and we talk to catchers about what they're looking for. One of the things in pitching is just like when you get to 2 strikes and you're in your 0-2, 1-2, 2-2 counts, can you put guys away? Like, can you have swing and miss stuff where you get strike 3 or induce weak contact? And that's stuff that we go over with the catchers, just talk to them about that, about how they can read a swing, read a guy, what a guy's trying to do in a certain situation, and then how to beat them. So it's a learning process. And I think just the more they do it, the more they see it, the better they become.
And what's your philosophy on pitchers shaking off pitches? Do you like that? Do you want them to throw what they want? Or
as a catcher, man, you just hate it when pitchers shake off, right? You're like, I know what I'm doing. So, there's that aspect of it. But at the same time, now that I've become a pitching coach, there's a lot of value in the pitcher throwing what they want to throw.
Conviction. Right.
And having that conviction of that pitch. So it's like, it's something, again, I go back and forth with, but I try to, before we even get to any of that, try to instill the confidence from the pitcher into the catcher, saying, we know what we're doing. We have scouting reports, we have spray charts, we have all this information. So just trust it. And we're also using our eyes, of course, saying, hey, your fastball's good this day. Like, go with that pitch. I know you want to throw something nasty, but you have this talent. So, don't shy away from it because you want to throw an off-speed pitch or throw something of that nature.
Right.
Yeah.
Chinooks specific here.
Okay.
What has stood out to you about this year's Chinooks pitching staff? Of course, there's going to be guys coming in and out, but from what you've seen so far, what stood out to you?
The attentiveness to want to get better. I think that's kind of the first thing that's really stood out is, everybody's here for a reason, myself included. We're all here to grow, to gain knowledge, to get better, to, have repetitions. They're hungry. They're hungry to learn. They're hungry to get better, which is really cool to see because you don't always get that at different levels. But they ask questions. They want to learn. And that's kind of been cool. Our session out there today, we're working on holding runners on and doing stuff. And there was a lot of really good questions about how they can become better. And I think that's the initial part of the separator of what makes a good baseball player and a good pitcher.
Yeah, that's something I was going to ask you is those pick plays or maybe bunt defenses. The team hasn't been together all that long.
Yeah.
So how do you get on the same page as far as those plays go?
Yeah, that's hard. Anytime you bring guys together, and it's like that for the first fall practice and even in the spring, sometimes getting them just to keep like a simple system. We went through some system stuff today of, hey, this is what we're going to do. And guys from different walks of colleges and different lives says, Coach, well, what about this and what about that? And I'm like, no, just keep it simple. So that's kind of what we've instilled, especially today, was just keeping things very simple with a system to hold runners on, middle infield, open glove, open hand, keeping runners, knowing which guys are going to go and how they're going to go. And to me, it's just more of that mental side of like, hey, it's not all about throwing the pitch. Like you have other responsibilities as a pitcher that you need to be mindful of. So they did a good job today. I was pleasantly surprised with how they gelled and how they work and how they communicated today. So it was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Something that I've picked up throughout the years is that it can be easy for a pitcher to maybe feel isolated. In this setting, when you're with guys that obviously they're getting closer by the day, but guys that they don't spend all that much time with.
Yeah.
And if there's a bad outing, you can feel isolated. What's your message to them to avoid that?
Pick out your success, right? Like figure out what was successful. You got to learn, man. It's just like how I view coaching and really view baseball post-playing career is that every day is just an opportunity to learn. Like that's all it is. Like the wins and losses, you're going to win games, you're going to lose games. You're going to have bad outings, good outings. Like what are you taking from it and what are you learning about yourself? I think summer baseball specifically that's what it's about is like, what are you learning about yourself? What do you do well? What do you need to work on? What are you deficient in? But just taking those small educational processes and using that as your tool, your teaching tool, and not, I got the win, I got the loss, right? I got the strikeout, I didn't get the strikeout, I gave up 5, I gave up none. Like that's irrelevant. It's just an educational process that we get to learn through baseball.
I love it.
Yeah.
Last couple of things, as both a coach and a father, what advice would you give to young athletes trying to pursue baseball, or not even baseball alone, but athletics at a high level?
Again, back to the failure piece, man. Like you're gonna fail, and I got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. So for me, it's just like I talk to my wife all the time about it. When your kids do something that maybe wasn't the smartest, or you want them to learn something from it, making it just an educational thing. Like, it's not about you're in trouble. It's not about, don't do this, don't do that. Just what are you going to learn from it? How are we going to handle stuff next time? That's been the biggest thing. And I think it's made me a better coach becoming a father, is that you start to, look through a different lens of things. But just trying to get kids to understand that part of things is, they get so worked up, man. Like, failure is like just life and death to them. And you just kind of have to get them, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, you're learning. And I think if you can really, and it's hard, man, it's so hard for young baseball players, but if they can understand that and then grow from it, sky's the limit.
Absolutely. This is something I'll ask everybody that comes on throughout the summer. And of course it's early, but what does it mean right now for you to be a part of Nook Nation?
I mean, it's the best thing ever. Like, I mean, this past 2 weeks, week and a half has been phenomenal. Just the hospitality from host families to, support staff to interns, like, it's been awesome. I think that you see a sense of community, a sense of pride, which kind of dissipates as, you get older and stuff. It's been fantastic. And I think that we have a really good thing going here. And I just want to kind of see it grow and, continue to make everybody proud and, hopefully get a lot of community involvement. And everyone's pretty happy once that happens.
Absolutely. Last thing, a little trivia segment for you.
Uh-oh.
6 possible points total. So the first one's worth a point. Easy, medium, hard, 2 points, 3 points. All right. What Great Lake borders Wisconsin's eastern shoreline? The lake right here.
Yeah, it's Michigan.
It is.
Right,
Lake
Michigan.
It
Okay.
is Lake Michigan.
All right. Okay.
It is Lake Michigan. There's 1 for 1.
Okay.
Medium. The Lakeshore Chinooks joined the Northwoods League in what year?
Oh, man, I know this. I know it. I want to say it's, I forget what year we're in now. 2012.
That's right.
Let's go. Okay.
I was worried you were going to look over your right shoulder.
There? No.
See that?
Okay.
But, 2012 is correct.
Okay.
All right, last one, worth 3 points. Only 2 pitchers in the history of the MLB have won Cy Young Awards in both the American League and National League. Can you name one?
Randy Johnson. No? No, he didn't do it? Oh, man. He won 4 in the National League, I feel like. Man. They won it in the American and National?
Yep. In both.
Verlander. No? Man, who do you got?
According to my sources, I've got Roger Clemens or Gaylord Perry.
I should have got the Roger Clemens one. Man. Okay.
We'll take 3 out of 6.
Okay.
It's tough to go like
Yeah,
that.
that's
On
tough.
the hard, but I love it. Thank you so much for doing this. Best of luck with everything.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I'm Bret Inman, and until next time, have a great day and stay hooked.